Gamers, the new Battle Pass weapons have leaked, and I want to talk about it. Is it worth considering getting them? Now, one thing I want to talk about is if you get really far into the game, you may be in a similar situation as this. Tons and tons of resources. Hundreds of experience books. I've got 30 million more. I've got so many resources, and, if I spent more money and had more characters and weapons, maybe I would use up these resources. But if you, do the Serenity Pot, if you are doing all the events that are coming out, you're going to amass quite a few resources. And in the very, very beginning of the game, when you've got, all these characters that you're trying to level up, right? These are level 50s. Like, it takes a lot of resources to get them up to 60 and 70 and 80. And so you may be tempted early on to get the Battle Pass. But the Battle Pass loses a lot of value as you go. I would never consider buying the Battle Pass. Even a year or a year and a half into the game, I would never have ever considered anyone buy it. Because it's like, I just don't think you need it. You get a couple extra wishes, you get more resin, and essentially it triples the amount of books and more that you get. And it is a lot. It is a lot, but it's $15. It's $15, and is it going to give you that much more enjoyment? I'm not sure. But one of the big selling features is the weapons. Now, Black Sword can be pretty good. You can actually lifesteal with it, which is interesting, and maybe down the road that would be cool on someone. But this weapon, while it is good, I think it is very replaceable. It's not a must-have. The Serpent Spine is fine, and there's not a lot of great Claymore options, but I also think that there's not like a plethora of godly Claymore units that you need to worry about getting a Claymore for, if I'm being 100% honest with you. The Solar Pearl, fine, but a lot of Catalyst users that are valuable and played a lot are like supports that don't need this, and then there's better DPS options for other like Yai Mikos and things like that. But there's so many good 4-star catalysts like the Wid Sith, and even sacrificial, so depending on who you're using, there's a lot of options that you get from the gacha that are very valuable. The bow, I almost see no one use this. It's fine. It's cool. It's got a long cooldown on it. Almost no one uses this bow. And then we've got the Deathmatch. And so this one was not really used either, because you could just use Dragon's Bane on Shang Ling or something like that, and you're chilling, or you get the catch. And so the current roster, who cares? I think there's a lot of very limited value here, but the new ones are a little bit more spicy. The Scion of Blazing Sun, this might be a little bit small here. I'll just summarize what it does. You hit him with a charge shot, and then an arrow is going to descend and do 60% of your damage to that unit. After it hits that unit, it will increase your charge attack damage taken on that unit. So it's a debuff, essentially. Kind of like that sword that like it tags them and they would take more damage from the Arataki Ito event. Kind of the same idea. So an arrow comes down, hits it, debuffs it, and now they're taking more damage. But this can only be triggered every 12 seconds. So maybe for a boss this would be okay. But it's essentially a big piece of trash, in my opinion. I wouldn't be spending $15 on this bow. I just wouldn't. The Wolf Fang. It increases your elemental skill and elemental burst damage, and it's 16% at R1. And then, when you hit with that skill or with your burst, it will stack up crit rate. And so if you're able to hit multiple times, like Xingqiu with his E, I think it hits twice, right? So you'd get 2 stacks, you get 4% extra crit or whatever it is. And then your burst ability coming down would give you some more crit with that as well. And it's pretty valuable because it's free crit and you're going to be able to stack that up. Because it stacks up 4 times, and they have a 10-second duration each. So uptime on this is very high. You can get like another 10% crit. It's nothing terrible. But you could also use Favonius to give you a bunch of energy for your team. You could use Sacrificial to reset your cooldowns if you've got multiple thingies. And while this will dish out some damage, it's not necessarily needed. This would actually, oddly enough, maybe work with like Ayato, kind of, because although he's doing normal attack, so I guess the elemental skill doesn't count, but yeah, scratch that. Ayato doesn't really work. the talking stick, this one here, attack will be increased by 16% for 10 seconds after being affected by pyro. So does that mean I need to be affected by pyro? All elemental damage will increase by 12% for 10 seconds after being affected by hydro, cryo, or electro. Essentially, if you get debuffed in any way, it'll proc this. This weapon sounds awful. There's a lot of characters like Xingqiu that will apply an element to you for a second or two, and then it goes away. And that's cool. And maybe Dia is burning herself technically, so like maybe Dia could use this because of the burning. But this just sounds terrible. Don't waste your money on this. The Ballad of the Fjord. Okay, this thing is pretty crazy for Xiangling users because it gives you almost 30% crit rate. And then when there's 3 different element types in your party, EM is increased by 120. So, Kazuha, right? Xiangling, Xingqiu, and then you could fill in with another one. Maybe you want to do like Fischl, or you could do something like that. But I think you count. So technically, you could do the Kazuha, Xiangling, Xingqiu, Bennett comp, because it's still 3 different elements. So you don't need 3 different from Pyro. It just needs 3 different elements, period. So that's crazy for Xiangling. It's amazing, but do you need it? There's the catch that you can get for free. There is the Dragon's Bane, which you'll get eventually that will work as well. And so it is a very good piece, but should you spend $15 on it? I just don't think it's necessary. When not on the field for more than 6 seconds, max HP is increased by 20% and EM increased by 80. Like, it's got a lot of crit rate, low base attack. This Sacrificial Jade, once again, the issue is there's so many good gacha 4-star catalysts, like the Widsith, Sacrificial. There's a 3-star Thrilling Tales for all your healers. I just don't know why you would ever get the Sacrificial Jade. And so, at the end of the day, this is a decent little bonus, and of anything, I think the Spear is the absolute best, and the only one I would really consider getting. And then I guess Wolf Fang would be a second choice, but I think Ballad of Fjord is just so good that it's like you'd be dumb to take the other ones almost. But at the end of the day, do you need all of the resources? I know that the longer you play, as someone who is a veteran, the longer you play, the less you will be interested and excited about these things. There's multiple events in game that will give you resources, and early on, you're going to get starved for resources. You want to level up that new character. You got a new 5-star unit you pull, and you want to level them up, or you get a new cool 4-star, and you want to see what they can do. And it does take a lot of resources, right? If I want to max this out here and just get to level 60, that's 43 books. And for a lot of people, I know that you get impatient, but if you play this game free to play, you can still progress very easily through it. You can really enjoy this game without spending a bunch of money. And if you want to do a battle pass here and there to get your account going, it is what it is. No one's going to judge you that much for it, but just be careful with your spending, because one day you will move on from Genshin Impact after you spent hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of dollars, and maybe it was worth it, and maybe it was fun. But you have to remember you will never get that money back, and that's okay. Entertainment is that way. I can't cry because I spent money on a movie that I watched. I can't get that money back if I go to a theme park, if I go on a trip. But I think that people spend in gacha games at a rate that is like way higher than any other game for the most part. It is like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of dollars. They get absolutely hooked in because there is something addicting about pressing that button and going, is this going to be something good? Is this going to be the game-changing thing? It's a Dory? It's a piece of trash? Maybe the next one will be. Maybe the next one will be. This whole thing is casino, and it baits people in. They see the new shiny thing, they see new battle pass weapons coming, and I just want to warn you to be careful. That's it. Long video to say what I always say. Protect your money, and have fun in the game free to play. Goodbye.